The assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963 continues to captivate and intrigue the world. Countless books, documentaries, and conspiracy theories have attempted to unravel the mysteries surrounding that fateful day in Dallas. In 2017, President Donald Trump ordered the release of thousands of classified documents related to the assassination, promising unprecedented transparency and a glimpse into one of America's darkest chapters. The release was met with anticipation from historians, journalists, and armchair detectives eager to pore over the files for new clues and insights. The National Archives, tasked with the preservation and management of government records, oversaw the release of the JFK files. These documents, spanning thousands of pages, contained a wealth of information, including eyewitness accounts, forensic reports, and intelligence memos. The files offered a granular look at the investigation conducted by the Warren Commission, which concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating President Kennedy. However, the release also ignited controversy as some of the documents contained redactions and withheld information, fueling speculation that the government was still concealing crucial pieces of the puzzle. The release of the JFK files was not without its critics. Some argued that the redactions hampered a full understanding of the events surrounding the assassination, while others questioned the motives behind the timing of the release. Nevertheless, the documents provided a valuable resource for researchers and the public alike, shedding light on a pivotal moment in American history. The release reignited debate about the assassination, with some claiming the files supported conspiracy theories, while others maintained that they reinforced the Warren Commission's findings. Despite the controversy and lingering questions, the release of the JFK files marked a significant step towards greater transparency and accountability. It allowed the public to access previously classified information and draw their own conclusions about one of the most consequential events in the 20th century. The files continue to be studied and debated, ensuring that the legacy of JFK and the search for truth remain alive. Amidst the trove of historical documents released to the public, a startling discovery sent shockwaves through the families of individuals connected to the JFK assassination investigation. The unredacted files contained sensitive personal information, including social security numbers, home addresses, and even medical records, exposing these individuals to potential identity theft and harassment. The revelation raised serious concerns about privacy violations and sparked outrage among those affected, who accused the government of negligence and disregard for their well-being. One of the most vocal critics of the privacy breach was Joseph DiGenova, a former Trump campaign lawyer whose social security number was among those exposed. DiGenova, along with other affected individuals, expressed their anger and frustration, arguing that the release of their personal information was a reckless oversight with potentially devastating consequences. They feared that malicious actors could exploit the exposed data for identity theft, financial fraud, or even harassment, jeopardizing their safety and financial security. The release of personal information in the JFK files highlighted a critical issue in the digital age: the challenge of balancing transparency with privacy. While the public has a right to access government information, the government also has a responsibility to protect the privacy of its citizens. In this case, the release of unredacted documents containing sensitive personal information demonstrated a failure to strike that balance, raising questions about the adequacy of the government's data protection measures and its commitment to safeguarding the privacy of individuals. The privacy breach also sparked a debate about the scope of the Freedom of Information Act, which allows the public to request access to government records. While FOIA exemptions exist to protect certain sensitive information, such as national security secrets and personal privacy, the release of unredacted JFK files suggested that these exemptions were not always applied consistently or effectively. The incident underscored the need for greater scrutiny of FOIA requests and a more rigorous approach to redacting sensitive information from released documents. Outraged by the privacy breach and the potential risks it posed, Joseph DiGenova and other affected individuals announced their intention to sue the National Archives. They argued that the agency had violated their privacy rights by releasing unredacted documents containing their sensitive personal information. The lawsuit sought financial compensation for damages, as well as an injunction to prevent the further release of unredacted documents containing personal information. The lawsuit against the National Archives was not just about financial compensation, it was a matter of principle. The affected individuals felt that their privacy had been violated, and their trust in the government had been broken. They wanted accountability for the negligence that led to the release of their personal information, and assurances that steps would be taken to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. The legal battle over the release of personal information in the JFK files presented a complex legal challenge. On the one hand, the government has a responsibility to protect the privacy of its citizens. On the other hand, the public has a right to access government information, and FOIA provides a mechanism for requesting that information. The case highlighted the tension between these competing interests, and the need for clear guidelines on redacting sensitive information from released documents. The lawsuit against the National Archives was closely watched by privacy advocates and government transparency groups alike. The outcome of the case had the potential to set a precedent for future FOIA requests and the government's obligations to protect personal information. It remained to be seen how the courts would balance the competing interests of transparency and privacy in this case. As the lawsuit against the National Archives gained momentum, the White House faced mounting pressure to address the privacy concerns and provide assistance to those affected by the release of personal information. In response, the administration announced a plan to mitigate the damage and offer support to the victims. This included providing credit monitoring services, assisting individuals in obtaining new Social Security numbers, and offering counseling to those struggling with the emotional toll of the privacy breach. The National Archives, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, launched an internal investigation to determine how the unredacted documents containing personal information were released. The agency pledged to cooperate fully with the lawsuit and implement new safeguards to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Additionally, the National Archives collaborated with the Social Security Administration to identify all individuals whose Social Security numbers were exposed and offer them support in mitigating the potential risks. Despite the government's efforts to mitigate the damage and assist those affected, the privacy breach eroded public trust in the government's ability to protect sensitive information. The incident raised questions about the adequacy of existing data protection measures and the need for stronger safeguards to prevent future breaches. It also underscored the importance of carefully balancing transparency with privacy in the digital age. The release of personal information in the JFK files served as a stark reminder of the importance of data security and the potential consequences of failing to protect sensitive information. It highlighted the need for ongoing vigilance, robust data protection policies, and a commitment to accountability in the event of a breach. The government's response, while necessary, could not fully erase the damage that had been done or restore the trust that had been broken.